Alright, yo, what up, guys? It's your boy No Name. Now, I'm here to talk about my Sorc. This Sorc has been my starting character, and I was a little late to make this video just because I did some stuff, bounced around. I had a really busy week, the week after release, right? Like, release came, so, early access release was on, June 1st, like the night of the June 1st. And then June 2nd, I had a training I had to do. June 5th through the 9th, I had supervision and work and whatnot. So I really had a lot less playtime than I would have liked on this work initially, just to really like burst out and figure some things out. But I'm here, I'm level 80. I've also now dipped into Necro a little bit to figure some stuff out, see some perspective outside of this work perspective. And I think the outside perspective on on Necro has really given me some illumination on what makes Sorc so nice. And so I want to talk about that a little bit here. First things first, we are Ice Shards. This was not the original plan, but it's currently the best way to go forward. So we're going to talk a little about the build first. Current state of the build is I am an Ice Shard Sorc. I feel like this is probably a pretty standard tree. This point is probably really bad and should be here, but I'm too lazy to fix that. But Firebolt for the enchantment. Ice Shards is our damage skill. We're going Destructive because I want the Vuln. I do not need Greater. My damage is fine. I don't really, or my clear is fine. I don't actually need this. I have good enough frozen uptime as it is right now. If I didn't, I would definitely go Greater though. Yeah. Then it's just standard passive nodes. Flame Shield, Teleport, Frost Nova, and Ice Armor are all taken in this build. Just because I can. I only have 1 point in these three. I just have +4 on Flame Shield for boots because my boots have been annoying me and will not give me +4 teleport. But I have 1 point in all of these because there's nodes behind all of them that I care about. Mana regen for Ice Armor, DR and CDR for teleport. Teleport's movement we care about greatly. Flame Shield being a great panic button has just been really useful for keeping me alive. You could also switch Flame Shield to mana cost reduction, by the way. This feels good, especially earlier on, just to, get more spammy. Then there's obviously Frost Nova. This is the bread and butter. This is one of our bread and butter. Ice Shards. The enchantment for this that we are running as our second enchantment has Ice Shards fly out automatically to frozen enemies, as well as ricocheting off of frozen enemies. And so Frost Nova is one of our big ways of freezing. When we're clearing, it's literally, you can actually go into some packs and just literally click Frost Nova and boom, everything's gone. Probably would be more the case for me if I wasn't running some kind of interesting tech right now, as opposed to raw damage gloves. But I just freeze. They make everything vulnerable. My ice shards shoot out. Things pop. It's great, right? Ricochets around. It's very nice. Then more good nodes, burning synergies to go with that fireball I talked about. Inferno is my 6th skill slot, and it's because I want the grouping capabilities of it, since I do not have a Raiment of the Infinite. And if I had a Raiment of the Infinite, we'll talk about this later, I would not actually be playing Ice Shards. Not my preferred choice of build, but it is very effective. But yeah, we use Inferno to pull things together just for like getting large area, like getting good nukes off. And then Avalanche is my current greater passive because I do not have enough mana cost reduction yet. With good mana cost reduction, you can go Shatter, especially if you're pushing. Shatter gets really good. I found that my clear so far feels so good that I don't know when I'm going to actually bother going with Shatter though. Like Shatter almost feels like it's going to end up being overkill at some point here. And so eventually I'll go there. But having the free cast of Ice Shards and increased damage as a part of my lucky hit procs has been really nice. And I will definitely continue to utilize this for a while until I feel like I'm more comfortable with the character's capability to sustain its own mana. We'll talk about some more of the build construction stuff. Wand, focus. The main stat in this build is CDR. If you look here at utility, I have 40% CDR. This is kind of low for my current gear state, right? I'm level 80, full ancestral gear. Could definitely get this higher, but I'm kind of stuck because I have a really good roll on my helmet. My amulet's now really good. My focus is pretty solid, and so I'm only as I have all 3 of these slots. The only differences I can really make at this point are to drop a Shaco or to get slightly higher range rolls, right? There's 1.7% here, 2.3% here, 1.7% here. That's like the range in which I have upgrades remaining for CDR, but it feels incredible. I'm still looking for +4 TP here for movement cooldowns. But these boots are pretty close to Abyss, honestly. Frost Nova movement speed, mana cost reduction are the big 3 stats on boots. The other big slots to look for stats are On your weapon, we're looking for Vuln, Int, crit damage. Like those are the big three. Burning and close are fine. Core skill damage is great as well because this is an Ice Shards build. Can also go with the on the focus here. This is pretty okay. The life on kill is the only thing that's really that bad here. I like the CC application from my lucky hit effect. It could be life gain on hit, or it could be mana resource restoration on hit. You could also get on here. There's crit chance. There's like one more stat I think that was actually really relevant, but I'm blanking. Oh, resource cost reduction. Right. I'm like literally working on one to get resource cost reduction on here because that's the other stat that I'm really missing that I feel like I really need. I don't know if you can actually see in my stats anywhere my resource cost reduction is. You cannot. But my resource cost is decent. Like Ice Shards, I believe its base cost 25. I am at 21. So it's not terrible, but I could get this lower. Ideally, we get it lower so that it's sustained solely between the mixture of Frostburn's procs. This is an effect that you can get in other places. I just have it on Frostburn because I'm running Frostburn instead of on my hitting on my focus. And then I run Prodigies, which I have a low roll Prodigies. And this is another problem. Using a cooldown restores mana, very good effect. I should get this somewhere else, but I haven't had one drop since switching to Ice Shards, and I didn't have any save from before because I didn't think I was going to go Ice Shards. Otherwise, other big things include Elementalist for crit chance, which again, my mana sustain is not great enough to make this super good yet, but it's pretty solid. Conceited, which this is the lower conceit because I was literally just doing this to test some stuff. I will probably actually upgrade this one proper. This is another big one for clear speed purposes. Having the Pierce, get a good roll on this one. It really makes a difference. This is Control. This is the bread and butter for bossing for any single target, quite frankly. As it stands in regular play, I only freeze. I do not actually have a source of stun in this character at the moment. To get stun on this character, I would need a Raiment of the Infinite. And for Immobilize, there's a version where when you get Raiment, you can then switch this to Meteor. It's like the suggestion that I would have in order to get an immobilization effect. You can also, instead to get immobilized, there's an aspect that summons meteorites when you use Inferno. And that will then immobilize, and you can use that as an immobilized proc as well for control. There's a couple options. I just don't think any of them are worth it given my current setup, right? Lucky Hit, I think is very valuable. This is damage against Unstoppable, just because I find there's a series of enemies that go unstoppable due to the sheer amount of CC that I have, or just, dealing with bosses. I don't like not having my CC stats, so this is my option around that. Standard defense chest. This is a really good defense chest. Triple DR that I benefit very well from, as well as armor and disobedience. Disobedience is really, really good. Probably one of the best aspects in the game. I think it's the best general aspect. I do think there are better class specific ones, but disobedience just tends to work so well. And then now for the things that make me like why I talked about not wanting to go Ice Shards. And the reason I swapped to Ice Shards because I was having clear speed issues on Arc Lash. Arc Lash, as you start needing to scale damage, at least in my current version, I have still needed to fiddle around with stuff, but I couldn't find the motivation to fiddle around more with practice, experimentation, because I was struggling with the clear speed. And so when you're struggling with clear speed, it's just harder to motivate yourself to play the game. So I need to switch to a bit that had better clear. And I'll talk about what my Arc Lash plan would have looked like a little bit later. But I swapped over to Ice Shards because I realized I had Frostburn plus Ice Heart Brace to go with my Ice Novas. And so Frostburn gives me a lucky hit effect for a chance to freeze. This is, as far as I know, the only source of lucky hit for freeze chance. This also gives me crit chance and luck and chance to restore resource. The chance to restore resource has been incredible. And then Ice Heart Brace, which the majority of these stats on these pants actually just suck, if I'm being honest. Except for I guess the int. The int's pretty nice. That's about it. But chance with dying while frozen has a chance to release a Frost Nova. And so now we have these beautiful freeze chains between free sources of this plus this and the Ice Heart Brace procs. Clear enough, start killing enough things, and then they'll hit another Frost Nova, which, since it's an actual Frost Nova and not just freezing things around it, it applies Vuln to anything nearby. It makes sure I can have this in case I hadn't already procced it yet. Generally speaking, high value material here. very much a fan. And so this has been really boosting my clear speed, and that's what I was saying. Like, I think Shatter is a little overkill for me here because I just have so much freeze. Because again, once we start freeze chaining, the enchant for ice shards hits, and now we're firing off automatically at those enemies as well. Then they ricochet through. I felt like I didn't need Shatter yet, and that's great because I can't really run Shatter comfortably. My bossing is still not lossless yet, and it needs to be lossless because losing the proc on Elementalist is a lot of damage. Yeah, so playing this build, the big note things to note, I would say your primary stats are CDR, mana cost reduction, the usual damage stats. And I'm gonna have a video coming out within the next couple days talking about damage scaling in this game. Just to give some tips from the perspective of not level 90, not level 95, not level 100, because I think there's some misleading, or not misleading, I just think there's some antiquated information floating around about the efficacy of stats besides the big three, right? If you've heard about the damage buckets or damage decks conversation, you're aware of the importance of vulnerable damage and crit damage, as well as attack speed in your main stat, as real damage scalers. And they talk about the rest of the bucket being kind of irrelevant, and I'll talk about some of that stuff later about that. But just know that those percent damage scalers are a pretty big deal, and they make a big difference still when you're not level 90, 95, or like if you look at my tree, for example, this glyph is leveled to 25, is leveled to 15, but it's not actually doing that much damage because this is a low dex board. But like you look over here, this one isn't leveled very far. It's just I needed to activate. Like this, my priority right now is activations. I need to level this one, switch it around and whatnot and stuff like that. But you'll notice my percent damage from my glyphs is not nearly as high. And so the rare nodes have been really helpful. Again, elemental balance has been pretty good. Elementalist is very nice. Stuff like that. This is some stuff I need to change from early theory crafting about my Arc Lash character. That then after Paragon board changes still need to be changed. But you'll see that here you take notice that give me a burning damage against burning enemies, damage against elites and burning enemies. This is DR against elites. This is damage. This is vulnerable damage over here. Generally to scaling percent damage sources as well as some vulnerable, some crit when I get there. I'm headed down here to put in some crit stuff. Actually, is where I'm headed next with not Frigid Fate, but Icefall. It's a Icefall or Static Surge. I'm pretty sure not Static Surge. Ceaseless Conduit next for more stuff, and then get my last glyph and really start filling out before I sit down and finally redo this board, which I have a theory craft that I will toss in the description. And you can see, but that probably won't be up to date in like a couple days time, just because it's going to be evolving as I figure out some more stuff about this character. But the Paragon is generally pretty straightforward. The glyphs I really heavily I would say like are super important. Elementalist is very good for this build. You burn, which is your fire damage. You use teleport, which is your lightning damage, and then you're an ice shard, so that's your cold. And so the effect on this is really good. I don't care a lot about the top node effect. It's not that it's bad, right? Like buffing the stuff in the radius is decent. But the primary reason that I use Elementalist is because it is 15% more damage. Like you see that X, there's 5% X. Like that's more damage. So if you're a PoE player, anyways, it's more damage. Just multiplicate a 15% damage increase. That's very good. Very, very good. So I run it with no levels. I just need it activated. 40 int, all it takes. Very easy. Could do it on your starting board. Territorial is one I really like for the DR. Damage against close is also very good because you're going to be in close range anyways. Doesn't matter if you're ice shards. I would say that territorial is probably lower priority than I have it in this, and it's just because I have territorial at high priority because I was playing Arc Lash first. This was the top priority glyph for Arc Lash because it's Arc Lash next to everything. Other high priority glyphs include Flame Feeder and Exploit. Flame Feeder, actually, again, since this is mental from Arc Lash, I would switch this to be, in this build, this would actually be Destruction. I would have Destruction instead of Flame Feeder. 4 skills do crit damage. We are scaling crit like crazy on this character. We have crit here, we have some crit on gear. So we have crit here, we have crit on gear. We're looking pretty good. We have Vuln scaling. All we need is some crit damage. Destruction gets an incredible amount of crit as you level it. Plus, then we get a 12% damage taken increase against especially bosses. We like that a lot. So I would say destruction is pretty important, but exploit is always going to be one of the most important things in the game. It scales the vol and damage right now because I'm not leveling exploit. It's not very high yet. Not in a very dex rich environment either, but it's got 25 dex on it, which gets me access to 10% damage for dealing damage to a vulnerable enemy, but that just travels with you. And you're going to be constantly vulning things anyway, so you're going to have constant uptime on 10% damage because of running this on everything. Very good. And then I would look at prioritize, where is it at? Frostbite's pretty good, but I've noticed it's a little difficult to find a good way to chill in this build. There are variants that I've been seeing of ice shards going around that are running Frozen Orb or Blizzard in place of other skills, such as dropping Flame Shield for Frozen Orb in order to get a source of chill. And I think if you do that, Frostbite gets really good. It's just a large damage increase. Could be worth trying it out. But if you do try it out, let me know. I might try it out myself. Control is a major single target glyph. This is good for clear, of note. And then for bossing, it's actually useless until you take the boss into the stagger, at which point it gets nuts. But in clear, this gets really good. 20% more damage against frozen enemies. We are ice shards. We freeze a lot, right? This is what I'm currently leveling because it's going to go in my next board. Embiber is another good early game, but there's a lot of options for glyphs and whatnot to choose from. Most of them you can't really go wrong with as long as they do something for your build. And there's path to good stats for the character. Again, we're talking about stuff like core damage, close damage, burning damage, and cold damage. Like those stats right there should all be good for you. Vuln damage, obviously. That's like the stuff you want to be scaling when you talk about playing shards on your Paragon tree. And skill tree is pretty straightforward as well, for that matter. I've considered taking points of devastation actually for more max mana to give me more room to breathe on elementalist procs. So that's the character from my ice shard Sorc at the moment. Very, very good character. Even with the terrible gear, because now we're going to talk about what's the actual problem. Like where did I come from, right? I was playing Arc Lash, and I'll do a full Arc Lash guide when I return to Arc Lash and do some more testing, some more thinking, get some more work done on it, because I really like the playstyle, right? This is all my Arc Lash gear over here. Some of this is not going to come back in its full form. Like I am going to stay with this new chest piece I made. It's just better than my old chest piece. Just because of the amount of armor and everything that all the damage reduction this gives. But I also had stuff like these pants that I'm gonna have to re-imprint over for ball lightning. These gloves, like I had some very good gear when playing around Arc Lash. I had like a wand, a different wand, and the reason I changed wands is primarily because I didn't want to redo the imprint. I haven't found another high level acceleration, or accelerating. So I wanted to keep this wand as is. Plus it has basic skill damage. This is a very good Arc Lash wand. It doesn't have crit damage, but like this is a very nice one for while I still don't have glyph levels, right? As opposed to this wand, which this is a very good wand as well, just in general. I just needed to spots to put ice shard stuff at. The foci are very similar, except this one has crit and basic skill damage. This is a lot more geared towards what I need for Arc Lash. So I, again, didn't want to touch that. So I have a lot of good gear except for my amulet. My amulet is way worse than my amulet for ice shards. Like you look left and right, and this is night and day difference how good these amulets are. But I got to do a lot of theory testing and a lot of theory crafting and retesting on my Arc Lash character. Because I felt like the damage was fine, but I think there's a way to pump it up a little bit further. Potentially investing in a different proc skill. I haven't really figured all that out yet. I think the use of the Adept glyph on Arc Lash was a bit of a waste. I don't think the AoE from Ball Lightning is actually that big of a deal. I think it was a bigger deal when when I was running Meteor. I got to test some boards out, test some things there. As well as I want to try one or two other aspects and stuff of that nature. So I'm going to go back and retest Arc Lash. But I want to say I came from Arc Lash. Some of this gear is just like this helmet is my Arc Lash helmet. That's why it's got basic attack speed on it. So we're gonna go back and check out Arc Lash again. But the Ice Shards was really easy to respec into. It's very strong character, very good clear speed, solid single target. At least so far, again on my budget gear, I could do so much better. I just wanted to show you guys what my Sorc has been up to, and at some point in the near future, hopefully I get to talk about Arc Lash again. I'm just waiting on Raiment of the Infinite to drop. I refuse to play Arc Lash again without Raiment, as I feel that Raiment's clear speed bonuses are borderline mandatory to make the build feel good. And I might find some innovation to work around that as well. This is gonna stem into a conversation on the short side about my frustrations with the need for burning as a scaling mechanism on both ice shards and arc lash, considering that neither of them are fire damage. Um, and the lack of good applicators for it. But we'll see if I can find a way around that as well. Whether it be getting out of the need for the scaling or finding another way to apply it so I can, change an enchant. Because having an enchant locked down in both builds to be fireable is pretty damning for the scaling possibility of the character. Just in terms of the fact that there's just some really good ones out there. Like, I would actually rather use chill, because chill starts pushing me towards freezes without me needing to where it's chill allows me to start pushing these freezes out without needing frostburn, for example. Or there was another one I saw that I wanted to consider, not this one. Ice Blades, unfortunately, is not really that good because they nerfed it after beta. There's a Blizzard enchant that I think is actually pretty good for DR purposes. The Blizzard enchant is very nice for being able to run the one that says when you're standing in your own Blizzard, you get DR. Periodic DR is never the worst thing in the world. There's one more that I liked when I saw it. It was this. Here we go. Frozen Orb. Having a chance to launch a Frozen Orb at a nearby enemy when I'm doing things, I would take that and spend some points here. Enhanced Frozen Orb does nothing, unfortunately, because I wouldn't be casting it, but you could get vulnerable from it, or you could get mana restoration from it. And I think both of those are great ideas for things that I could do with my enchant if I wasn't locked into having to use Firebolt as an enchant at the moment. So, that's the thing. Of course, the big one, my favorite one, is Firewall enchantment. The pots from this are beautiful. They scale with levels in the skill. I can't really complain. But again, locked to Firebolt, right? So I'm hoping that there's maybe there's some stuff Burning can figure out. Like Inferno burns. It's just Inferno's not always up, right? At least in this setup, right? So we're testing some stuff out, see if I can figure things out. I might end up dropping Flame Shield for some stuff to figure out better burning solutions. Again, lots of testing to go through to figure some of this stuff out, right? But these will all be after Raiment, so I can really get back into min-maxing. Anyways, this is pretty long. I didn't mean to. There's just a lot of stuff about Sorc that I wanted to talk about that I've been thinking about since the launch of the game, right? This will be recorded almost 2 weeks into the game's lifetime, at least as an early access purchaser. And so just wanted to get all these thoughts out there before I continue hitting other things and start pushing further into the character. Take care. Thank you for joining. Oh, right. Before I hop out of here, though, before I get going, check me out on Twitch. Join the Discord. Links in the description down below. I'm live almost every night around 9:30 Central. Come hang out. Anyways, now I'm out of here. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.